Okay, so I've just, buddy. I've got a dog here. Hello. Come on, bud. Say hello. Okay, so just a little intro video to a radio interview I've just done. So Radio 5 Live contacted me. Are you getting down? What are you doing? Radio 5 Live contacted me a couple of weeks ago, said would I be interested in doing an interview about sort of farming and economics as part of a bigger thing they were doing in this area. So they came to see me this morning, and the chap Pete, is quite generous, talking about stuff with me. The only thing is, I knew that basically what will happen is a lot of it will get cut out. So the broadcast, I think I've got a slot of only about 3 minutes, and we recorded about 8 minutes of stuff. So I've asked him to send me the raw files, the unedited interview. So what you're going to hear now is the 8 minutes we did, and it wasn't recorded live, so it wasn't broadcast live, if you know what I mean. But the only thing is, we didn't do a second take on anything. So when we were discussing stuff, it was really off the top of my head. And sometimes you kind of think afterwards, you think, oh, I wish I'd said that. I wish I'd said that. So it is what it is. I'm not a professional interviewer, if you like, or interviewee. I'm just literally a guy who has an opinion on stuff, on a bit of farming. So hopefully anyway I've kind of helped get the message out there of what farming is facing, and what's going on in the farming world. Anyway, buddy, sit back and listen to me cracking on with Radio 5 Live.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's the funky farmer Rich Cornock here at New House Farm, Titherington, South Gloucestershire. How's that?
A little bit more.
We're here with Pete. He's about to be eaten by a cow.
That's amazing. So basically, we're speaking quite a lot about price rises today.
Yeah.
If I say price rises to you,
Yeah.
what costs for you are particularly expensive at the moment?
Well, quite across the board, everything seems to have flown up in the last 6 months. So if I start with the basic example, I was building a shed round the back, and we had to get some steel work in. The chap who's building the shed just phoned me and said steel's gone up 240 quid a tonne overnight. So that put the price of the shed up. But on a more mundane level, my main cost inputs are diesel for the tractors, feed for the cows, even labour. It's all gone up, and I've got no control on those price increases. But also, I don't know where they're going, because things like diesel, it seems to fluctuate quite a bit. And I've got one of my main costs, which will be coming into the spring, is fertiliser. And at the moment, everyone's sort of holding off buying because they don't know whether it's going to go up or whether it's going to, hopefully go down. But it's a very volatile situation at the moment.
And obviously, we're on a dairy farm. For most businesses, when their costs go up, they put up the price of what they're making and selling.
Yeah.
For you, that's not an option, right?
Well, it's a very difficult one. I don't make the price. So if you go into a shop, the shopkeeper will tell you this is going to cost you X amount and you have to buy it or not. My situation is that my milk buyer tells me how much they're going to give for my milk. So if sorry, there's a noisy cow rubbing against the gate there. If I want, say my diesel goes up and my fertiliser goes up, I can't go to my buyer and say, hang on, I need another 5p a litre, because they'll just go, well, we haven't budgeted for that. So we're at the mercy of the milk buyer. We have been quite fortunate in the fact that they have been quite responsive to the increase in costs and the milk price. So I'll give you an example. Back in about January, we were getting about 28p a litre. I'm now looking at around the 48p a litre. So that's why the public, when they go into a supermarket, have seen a massive increase in the cost of butter and dairy and stuff because of the increases cost to me, which are then going down the chain.
When things like this happen, and the prices go up, in particular for feed, because I know you've been impacted by the weather for that, haven't you? So maybe you could talk us a little bit about that, actually, because I think that's quite an interesting point. Because some of the price rises that households are dealing with, you just buy something else, or you don't have the option with some of your inputs, right?
Well, it's a very interesting year this year, because I'm sure everyone's aware there's been a drought, and people think, well, the drought's gone, so the impact might have gone, but it hasn't, because in this farm we produce most of our own forage for the cows, and some of that's grown in the field for them to eat in the summer, but obviously the rest of it is for the winter when they're kept indoors. Now the problem with the drought is that it impacted us right through from probably mid-August. We just didn't have the grass on the farm, so we've been feeding forage to the cows since August now, and we're going to have to buy more in for the winter because we couldn't produce enough. Now, so far I've spent £5,000 extra this year on forage, which we wouldn't normally have bought.
So we talked about the milk costs, but in terms of obviously everything going up, are you having to absorb some of that as a business?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, I can't, like I said, I can't go to Muller and say, well, I've spent an extra £5,000 because of the drought, please give me some more money. It was impact. So we try and run. On a farm, you've got to work for the bad times as well as the good times, because if you think it's going to be plain sailing all the time, you soon go bust. So it's much better to run with a bit of a reserve. So thankfully we had the reserve for that forage, but the problem is that impacts me in the fact that I was putting that money aside to buy a new mower in the spring, which I think now is, I don't think we can justify really, and you know, we just have to see how we keep going over the winter.
We've got the government's autumn statement this week. Is there anything the Chancellor can announce in that would really impact you and your business and your sector?
Well, the key one in farming at the moment is the loss of the single farm payment, which is which was run by the EU, is basically a subsidy on farming to keep food costs low. That's actually going in a few years' time, but it leaves a massive black hole of funding in farming, and at the moment they seem to not be certain where we're going on this. They are talking about bringing something in connected with the environment, but with that uncertainty, it means that you can't really plan what you're doing in the next sort of few years until we get a definite answer of what that funding might be. It will be linked to the environment, which I think is a great idea, but the thing is, so this is where I think the government now needs to sit back and look at what's going on, what's happened after Ukraine, because quite recently there was a massive focus on just dumping loads of trees on really good productive farmland around the UK. Now, in my mind, that is a stupid idea. We need to get food security in this country. We need to focus the environmental potential where it really is, where it should be, which is probably on less productive land. But also, rather than taking out large areas of the countryside and making them basically uneconomic ghettos, where if you take away a farm from an area, you affect the rural economy there. You affect the guy with the little van who's going around servicing the tractors and things like that. You need to, instead of making those areas just void and just full of trees, you need to spread that around the countryside, spread the money around the countryside, put it into the farming community that actually know about the right places to put these trees. I'll give you an example of this, okay? Gloucestershire Council this year planted thousands of trees around Gloucester, right? Unfortunately, they planted them in the middle of the summer, which is the wrong time of year to plant trees. They also forgot to water them during the drought. So thousands of trees were planted, thousands of trees died. Now, they are supposedly doing things against climate change or for climate change. If you give that money to a farmer, he's already on the land, knowing his land, where the best places to put those trees are. But also, hopefully, he's got a bit of knowledge about trees and will think, if I plant that tree, I need to water it. And I think, you know, a focus going forward is maybe to get the public involved with that sort of balance of nature on farms. The farmers can be involved with it, but also you've got people like Just Up Oil, who is, you know, someone was on the gantry not that long ago saying, you know, I'm here because of my future, you ruined my future. No, your future isn't ruined, you can change your future. Get on the land maybe, join up with some schemes that are planting trees and stuff, and change the environment for the good.
Finally, you're no stranger to talking about your farm and the work you do on your YouTube channel. What has it surprised you, the interest that you get from members of the public about what goes on your farm and on farms across the country?
Oh, it's been amazing. So I run a YouTube channel called The Funky Farmer, and I started it 10 years ago, and it's really taken off. But the thing is, I have some lovely feedback from people who love to see the background of farming, you know, because I've got the time to put out a video, maybe that's 40 minutes, which shows someone how I milk the cows or whatever I'm doing. compared with, say, a snapshot where you get a small amount on Countryfile. And generally speaking, the public are interested where their food comes from and what British farmers do. And I'm not the only one, you know, around the country there's plenty of YouTubers that are farming now that give people the insight and hopefully the inspiration. Maybe some people would want to get involved with farming. Like you, Pete, with your wellies.